Hello everyone. First update today on 22nd of October because I was dealing with some technical issues almost all day, and hopefully uh, I managed to resolve these issues, and the sound quality will be more or less on a okay level, and video also. And I hope you will find this update informative and interesting. And well, let's go through some news. I'm a bit short on time, so therefore I will at least go through some headlines that Russian media is reporting about. So Interfax is reporting about BRICS, obviously, and many other media outlets here in Russia and I guess worldwide, maybe with the exception of Western world. They will probably try to downgrade the importance of Kazan BRICS Summit that started today and will last for next 2 days until 24th of October. And of course, there was and still are quite a number of expectations from this summit. A couple of weeks ago, some experts were considering possibility that new members will be accepted into the BRICS organization, even though I was a bit skeptical on that. And I guess I was correct because we have a statement of a deputy of the Russian foreign minister, Sergei Ryabkov, who said that in 2024's agenda of the BRICS, there is no further enlargement as a main topic. So therefore, probably we should not have expectations that new members will be accepted during this Kazan summit into this organization, although very significant, obviously very significant decisions will be made and announcements. Russian president is obviously very busy, especially nowadays. Yesterday he had a meeting with several foreign guests, including leader of the United Arab Emirates. Today he is constantly having meetings with different high-ranking officials from BRICS member states, and there are states that want to become partners of the BRICS or full members. And we have reports, and I shared on Telegram information that leader of India, leader of China, South Africa, Egypt, many other countries, by the way, already arrived into Kazan. And I guess today evening, we will receive first informations about some crucial decisions or announcements that BRICS member states will make. And so, yes, also expectations are, dear friends, that we will receive information about creation of alternative financial and banking system, alternative to the Western one. I have such expectations, and hopefully we will see some news on that. And of course, I will report about it as soon as Russian media will share with public uh, additional reporting on these topics. As I said, dear friends, Russian president is very busy, and BRICS summit clearly demonstrates which side of this proxy war that Western ruling class is waging against Russia is truly isolated. Russia, that is hosting right now BRICS summit, in which more than 30 countries, delegations from more than 30 countries are participating, or the collective West or Western ruling class that is getting more and more isolated and distanced from the rest of the world. That's whole another topic. Today, Russian president also had a meeting with the head of development bank that was created by BRICS. Let's translate this news here. So the growing share of the national currency settlements between BRICS countries reduces geopolitical risks, while Vladimir Putin said at the meeting with the president of the new development bank of the BRICS, Dilma Rousseff, I believe she was leader of Brazil at one point, isn't it? Correct me if I'm wrong. The increase in payments in local currencies makes it possible to reduce the payments for debt servicing increase the financial independence of the BRICS member countries and minimize geopolitical risks as much as possible and save the development of their economy from politics as much as possible in today's world, the Russian leader stated. And as I said, dear friends, I have expectations, or many other people worldwide have expectations that during this Kazan Summit, major topic of discussion will be creation of alternative financial and banking system, and significant steps were made in this direction. And hopefully we will hear some announcements about it today, tomorrow, day after, during this BRICS summit. Also, Russian president, as I already said, plans to have meetings with world leaders, and among them will be President of Turkey, Recep Tayyip Erdogan. And we all know that Turkish current leadership of Turkey openly express their interest to join BRICS. So obviously, two leaders will have much to talk about, much to discuss. Not just Turkey's ambitions to become BRICS member state, but also situation in the Middle East, bilateral relationships. Also, I believe during the negotiations between Russian and the Turkish presidents, topic will be discussed about overcoming some obstacles between Turkey and Syria, so that Ankara and Damascus will manage to reestablish, let's say, relationships between their two neighboring countries. Hopefully, they will succeed in this. And also, by the way, obviously, Russian president will have a meeting together with all the leaders that will be presented on a BRICS summit, and also there will be separate meetings. I believe Russian president will have a separate meeting with a tete-a-tete meeting with the Chinese leader, with the leader of India, and many other presidents and prime ministers from BRICS member states and other countries that want to become a part of BRICS. Although, unfortunately, according to Zglad newspaper, President of Serbia, Alexander Vucic, will not participate in BRICS summit. Serbia will be represented by Vice Prime Minister, as far as I understand, Alexander Vulin, who was quite active recently when it comes to further improving relationships between Moscow and Belgrade. But still, by the way, it is unfortunate that President of Serbia, our brotherly nation, will not be in Kazan. This is truly unfortunate. But well, according to explanations from Belgrade, Serbia's president had planned a meeting exactly at this time with the Prime Minister of Poland, Donald Tusk. So therefore, he is unable to visit BRICS. I don't know if I don't buy this explanation. By the way, who the hell is Donald Tusk, man? Let's be real here. Who the hell is Donald Tusk or any other official in Poland? I mean, they are nobodies, right? I mean, just zeros. So therefore, this explanation will not fly for sure. Unfortunately, I guess Vucic is under such a pressure from and maybe under blackmail from the Western ruling class that he was unable to visit Kazan. Maybe he was threatened that NATO will escalate situation in Kosovo, or West will use Kosovo to provoke another military conflict or something, of that kind. And therefore, President of Serbia will not participate in this meeting, but many other leaders will. And very serious historic decisions probably will be announced in next hours and next several days. Now let's talk about some other topics. Also, obviously, as I said, the BRICS summit is major news here in Russia and in many other countries worldwide. But there are some other developments. Also, RIA Novosti is reporting that Russian armed forces established full control over their settlement of Novosadove in a DPR. This is, as we call, by the way, southern flank of Kupiansk sector, although Kupiansk itself is a Kharkov region. But this settlement, Novosadove, is a cluster, considered as a southern Kupiansk sector by many. So this is Novosadove settlement on the northern side of Terni village. Probably you remember a couple of months ago there was a fierce fighting in the Terni area between Russian forces and the Kyiv regime forces. But then some operational pause was established, and now it is becoming clear that Russian troops are active again. And after establishing control over the Novosadove, I guess in upcoming days and weeks, Terni settlement and Yampolovka settlement also will be liberated by Russian troops. Let's continue with some more news. And well, we have a report here that Kyiv regime punished 116th Brigade of its own armed forces for refusing to obey orders. This brigade, by the way, as many others, refused to obey orders and rebel. Basically, a number of officers, a number of personnel from this brigade was punished. I guess some of them were killed. And now this brigade is directed to Sumy region as a punishment. And I guess this brigade will be thrown into Kursk salient area in upcoming days and will be sacrificed. Although brigade has a history of disobeying orders from the Kyiv regime, and who knows, maybe once they will end up completely, once this brigade completely will be deployed in the Sumy region or possibly in the Kursk salient area, who knows, maybe a significant number of units from this brigade will make decision to lay down arms and surrender without the continuation of this nonsensical conflict with Russia. I don't think members of this brigade are very keen to die for geopolitical agenda of the Western ruling class, right? So let's see. But information itself is interesting and highlights that our situation in Kyiv regime's forces are so difficult that entire brigades now are disobeying orders, by the way. Not just platoons or companies, but entire brigades. Let's continue. And the Vzгляд newspaper is reporting about a trolling that Russian troops did just yesterday or day before when they raised the North Korean flag, by the way. And the Russian military correspondent Kots reported on that, Alexander Kots, and he said that this was a trolling. Many propaganda outlets in the West and on the Kyiv controlled territory started using this footage of North Korean flag, or as it looks like North Korean flag, on one of their positions on a line of contact, and they start moving this narrative, pushing this narrative that this is proof that North Korean troops are participating in this military operation. But in reality, this was a trolling, by the way. This was a simple trolling from Russian troops. I don't know where they get the North Korean flag, but they make some headlines worldwide, isn't it? With this, let's translate this news, dear friends. So let's translate this news and go through some more details. Russian soldiers from their center group raised their flag, resembling the flag of DPRK, North Korea, in their Tsukirin area in DPR. This is Pokrovsk sector of the front line, dear friends. Said military correspondent Alexander Kots in his Telegram channel. Kots announced the raising of the flag resembling the North Korean flag of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea near their liberated village of Sokorin. According to military correspondent, This action was perceived as a thick trolling from the Russian military in the Pokrovsk direction, which caused discussion in Ukrainian and international channels. Coats also stressed that Russian fighters use such techniques to demoralize their enemy. I don't know about demoralizing enemy. I don't know if Kyiv regime's forces really care that much about North Korean troops. Uh, I just don't know. But it is trolling, by the way, and Russian soldiers that raise this flag clearly make some headlines, isn't it? And so much so that now we have Vzгляд newspaper's reporter, which is based on article in Newsweek, that South Korea is considering to send its troops to Kyiv-controlled territory as a response of some imaginary North Korean troops in zone of special military operation. And according to Newsweek, Seoul is considering deployment of its troops in Kyiv-controlled territory as not to participate in battles, but to support Kyiv regime in a training and also to work as interpreters in case if North Korean soldiers will be captured and their interrogation will take place. So something is wrong with the South Korean leadership, by the way. Why they are um, so actively involved in this crazy narrative, to push this crazy narrative, I don't know. But this is not the first and not second time when according to Western media outlets, North Korean leadership is commenting or making statements about possible steps that they will conduct in response to deployment of North Korean troops in Russia, which is, according to even Lloyd Austin, head of Pentagon, is not true. There are no. He was asked, didn't it, Lloyd Austin, just a couple of days ago, and he said that he cannot confirm. Pentagon, uh, with its all intelligence capabilities, and also CIA, I guess, have no information right now to confirm that North Korean troops are presented in a zone of special military operation. It's just nonsensical stuff. You know my take on this topic. I don't think Russia needs any North Korean troops to fight in any direction in a zone of special military operation or in Kursk salient. Russian troops will do uh, whatever are necessary to neutralize enemies of Russia, obviously. And for whatever reason, South Korea is quite happily is getting involved in this crazy story. I don't know why. And they are now considering to send their troops into Q-controlled territory. What the heck, man? What are they thinking? Anyways, let's continue. RT is reporting that Pentagon's chief, Lloyd Austin, makes surprise visit to Kyiv. So, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin has made an unannounced trip to Ukraine's capital as Washington announced another 400 million drawdown of munition from Pentagon stock for Vladimir Zelensky's war efforts. Austin arrived by train with no major announcements. The Wall Street Journal reported, noting that Ukraine had hoped for a NATO membership or promises to use US supplied long range weapons against Russia. US will get Ukraine what it needs to fight for its survival and their security, Austin said in a speech after meeting with Zelensky and his counterpart Rustem Umerov. For anyone who thinks that American leadership is expensive, well, consider the price of American retreat, he stated, adding that the price of principle is always dwarfed by the cost of capitulation. Meanwhile, the Pentagon said it would release 400 million worth of U.S. stockpiles, mainly munition for HIMARS multi-launch rocket systems and their artillery, along with some M113 armored vehicles to Ukraine. This is on top of 425 million batch of military aid the U.S. announced just last week by the Pentagon's own accounting, the US has given Kyiv 68 tranches of aid since August 2021. The Wall Street Journal put the value of their aid at over 64 billion US dollars, not counting the additional tens of billions from Canada and European members of NATO. So, as I reported yesterday, your friends, even though some had some expectations that Lloyd Austin will announce lifting uh, these so-called restrictions on long-range strikes deep inside Russian territory by U.S. weapons, U.S. missiles. This did not happen, and hopefully this will not happen, um, because otherwise, well, Russian leadership was very clear, isn't it, that they will perceive such strikes as a direct attack on Russia by NATO member states, and Moscow will retaliate accordingly. So none of us wants to see such a level of escalation, isn't it? We want to see de-escalation. So therefore, hopefully, cool heads are adequate people among Western ruling class, Western ruling elites, and I hope there are such people there. They will prevail and not allow these hotheads in the West to escalate this proxy war against Russia on whole new level by authorizing NATO member states, NATO troops to conduct such strikes, because we all know Kyiv regime on its own is unable to conduct any such attacks. It's all NATO troops. Let's continue, dear friends. And the next news is about UK's military aid to Kyiv regime. So UK to arm Ukraine using Russian money, frozen Russian money. They're gonna steal Russian assets, by the way. So the UK will provide Ukraine with their 2.26 billion pound, which is $2.94 billion loan for its war efforts against Russia based on cash generated by frozen Russian assets, according to Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves. So it is official, dear friends. European states, G7 states, collective West is stealing Russian assets, and world sees this, and that's why it has immense importance to create alternative financial and the banking system, so that world community would not be dependent on Western financial and banking system that you can see clearly that is corrupt and weaponized, and no investments in the West can be considered safe. Right? It's just factual. I'm not exaggerating nothing. They might steal, Western ruling elites might steal any investments from anyone uh, at any time, whenever they want. And they are proving this, right? This is not just some predictions or expectations. This is factual. They are doing this right now. And they are basically finally destroying, decimating whatever is still remains um, from the trust that Western financial and banking system had sometime in the past. And dear friends, before I continue, let me notice, if I made that this small project of mine, this small media project with several channels on YouTube, Rumble, Telegram, is completely subscriber funded for 100%. And I will be immensely grateful if you will also consider to support my work. If you find my work and my channels interesting, useful, if you think we deserve to exist in this field of news and political commentary, and if so, you can support with donation through PayPal platform or Boosty platform that you see on your screen right now, or you can subscribe to my Patreon page and also page on Boosty, where I have quite a lot of additional videos, second updates, behind the scenes videos, and much more. And I'm trying to make sure that my pages on Patreon and Boosty are informative and interesting. All the links under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. And let's continue now with some more news. TASS News Agency is reporting that the European so-called Parliament approved stealing of Russian assets yet again, and they will now provide their Kyiv regime with 35 billion euro loan under guarantees of exactly their stolen Russian assets, profits from their frozen assets in Europe, frozen Russian assets. So yet again, when I say that Western ruling class is stealing Russian assets and destroying whatever is remains from trust that Western financial and banking system had sometime in the past. This is factual. This is true, isn't it? The Glad newspaper is also reporting that uh, G7 countries will announce in in relatively near future, possibly in upcoming days, that they will continue to freeze Russian assets in the West, even when conflict in Ukraine will end. And why I'm not surprised. Of course, they're going to continue to freeze Russian assets. They want to steal all these 300 billion of Russian assets, right? And they will steal it. We all understand this. So therefore, with announcement or without it, um, yet again, man, world needs alternative financial and banking system and to stay away from Western banks, Western economies to make sure that their investments are safe. That's all really. When it comes to these frozen Russian billions, G7 is argumentation of G7 is that these funds will be frozen until Kyiv regime will receive some compensation from Russia. If anyone has to receive any compensation, it's Russia, and Russia should receive compensation not just from Kyiv regime but from collective West for provoking this proxy war against Russia. But of course, this is not going to happen. So uh, therefore, Western ruling class will steal these 300 billion, and I guess Russia will retaliate and nationalize 300 billion worth of Western assets in Russia. That's what is going to happen as a response. TASS news agency is reporting that IDF, Israeli Defense Forces, conducted some 230 strikes during the previous 24 hours on Lebanon. IDF is claiming that these strikes were conducted on Hezbollah positions, but I guess many people worldwide have some doubts that all these strikes were against Hezbollah. We'll see how Israel was conducting itself, Israeli armed forces in Gaza Strip. So therefore, no one really takes seriously any statements that nowadays are coming from IDF or Israeli government. There are horrific photos and videos, by the way, that coming in from Lebanon about these destroyed apartment buildings, destroyed infrastructure, killed and wounded civilians. It's a total horror and the tragedy of what is happening there. But unfortunately, only major capital in this world right now is Washington that can really can influence decision making process in among Israeli leadership, but Washington is hesitant to do anything really. So that's the situation that the world is right now. RT is also reporting that India and China reached border dispute deal, which is a great news, which is definitely great news. So in previous years, you all know that there were some even clashes between Indian and Chinese militaries on the borderline with no weapons, just with some uh, sticks and with hands and that kind of stuff. But still, people were dying during these clashes, and it is good to hear and see such a news and read such a news that both sides managed to agree uh, on some consensus, and hopefully situation will de-escalate. So let's go through this news for a little more detail. India announced on Monday that it has reached key breakthrough in talks with China following 4-year military standoff between the two nuclear powered neighbors. The development was confirmed by the Indian Foreign Ministry on the eve of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Russia for the BRICS summit, where he could hold talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping on the sidelines. According to Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri, both sides agreed to parameters for patrolling their so-called line of actual control, LAC, near the town of Ladakh. To ensure no violence occurred, the agreement was the outcome of several rounds of discussions through diplomatic and military channels over the past few weeks. There are two sides will now take their next step on this. He said, great news, great news. So we all want to see good, friendly, strategic partnership between India and China. No conflicts, by the way. There is too many conflicts in this world. We definitely not need additional one, especially between nuclear neighbors. So I am happy for both countries that they managed to find ways to de-escalate on the borderline issues. RIA Novosti is also reporting that former Prime Minister of Georgia and the founder of the current ruling party, Georgian Dream, Bidzina Ivanishvili, stated that West was basically demanding from Georgian leadership to start the war against Russia. That's what he says, by the way. And I guess none of us are surprised, and that's why I'm saying, dear friends, that collective West is very not happy with the current leadership of Georgia, exactly because they refuse to sacrifice Georgia and citizens of Georgia for Western geopolitical agenda and to open so-called second front against Russia. And that's why Western ruling class is trying now and will continue to try, especially after 26th of October when parliamentary elections going to take place in Georgia, to destabilize country, to conduct regime change, to put in power their assets, and then use Georgia against Russia, to sacrifice Georgia, basically. So let's go through this news, dear friends, for a little more details. Just a little more. And so let's go through this news here. The West offered the former Georgian Prime Minister Irakli Garibashvili to start a war with Russia. Bidzina Ivanishvili, founder and honorary chairman of the ruling Georgian Dream Party, and he was also Prime Minister, said in an interview with Imedi TV company. This is Georgian TV company. Imedi means hope. When a high-ranking official has, and this is quote, when high-ranking official had such a conversation with him, with the of the country, Irakli asked, but how can you imagine how many days we can fight, how many days we can withstand? They said probably 3 or 4 days. Uh, he said, and for the sake of these 3 or 4 days, you are destroying us. Irakli Haribashvili was arguing with whomever from the West he was talking to, and this someone was clearly high-ranking official because he was talking to Georgian Prime Minister, right? And the response, and Haribashvili was asking, "You want to destroy us for these 3 or 4 days that Georgia will manage to uh, operate as a kind of second front against Russia?" And answer was that there are 3 or 4 million of you. They won't kill everyone in 3 or 4 days. Then you can start a guerrilla movement in the woods. We will help you. You will fight from there. The politician said. He called this attitude of the Western towards Georgia a reality. The politician also recalled that the United States and its allies make statements about their inadmissibility of a NATO war with Russia under any circumstances, while they want other countries to get engaged in this full-scale conflict with Russia, and are pushing for that. That's why they left us and left Ukraine. They forced us to fight, and they want to force us again, Ivanishvili explained. So yes, by the way, if you had any doubts that Western ruling class is sacrificing citizens of this former Soviet Republic, Ukraine, and the Western ruling class sacrificed Georgia once in 2008 when Saakashvili was the president, and they ordered Saakashvili to provoke a military conflict with Russia, which lasted for exactly 3 4 days on August in August of 2008, and they were demanding actually from Georgians new regime, new government uh, to sacrifice Georgia once more and to open a kind of second front against Russia. That's what Western ruling elites do, man. They don't care about anybody. They don't care even about their own fellow citizens, right? And of course, they don't care about citizens of countries that they are using or are trying to use, Georgia among them. So, I mean, good on current leadership of Georgia that they managed to save the country, save the people, and withstand this pressure from the West and maintain working relationships with Russia. And therefore, I have no doubts that people in Georgia will price these efforts of current leadership, and they will vote. Majority of the people will vote in support of current ruling party. I have no doubts about that. Even though most likely um, Western assets in Georgia, in so-called opposition, in so-called media or non-governmental organizations, and also President of Georgia, Salome Zurabishvili, who is acting clearly as a Western asset, they will probably would not recognize results of election, and they will try to destabilize country and conduct regime change. So, as I said many times before, Georgia is entering very difficult times, and hopefully it will manage to overcome all the obstacles and stay on the safe side. Hopefully. RT is reporting that Putin grants Russian citizenship to American refugee. So, Russian President Vladimir Putin granted citizenship on Monday to a man once dubbed by the nation's media as the first U.S. political refugee. John Anthony Robles was given a Russian passport together with more than a dozen others, including journalists, businessmen, and athletes. And I want to share with you this news, dear friends, because after recent some changes in Russian laws, including about asylum seekers and refugees. I guess door was open. Door was open for citizens of the Western states to come to Russia and as asylum seekers, because we all understand that in the Western states, in many Western states, by the way, people are harassed if if they have traditional values, right? If they have family values, if they disagree with their whatever narratives neolibs and globalists are pushing over the societies, right? And people are losing jobs, people are losing businesses, people are harassed on internet, on in real life, and this is obviously reason enough. This is clearly enough reason such a situation to grant asylum seeker and refugee status to citizens of the West who experience such a uh, pressure. And I guess more and more people from the West will come to Russia now and apply for asylum. This will be faster way to basically get Russian citizenship. This is not going to be a case always, but in majority of cases, probably refugees will get Russian citizenship quicker than if they will just try to receive Russian citizenship. So I expect more and more people from US, Europe, Canada, Australia, New Zealand to come to Russia and to stay here. And they are welcome, by the way. All law-obeying, good, hardworking people are welcomed, obviously, here. They can bring their expertise, their knowledge, they will benefit their society, and they will benefit themselves, right? Being live by living in a country where normalcy is welcomed. RT is reporting that Kremlin reveals Russia-Iran trade success. So bilateral transactions have grown by 12.4% this year, according to latest numbers. So Russia and Iran have almost fully phased out the use of foreign currencies in bilateral trade. The Kremlin has said ahead of the BRICS summit in the Russian city of Kazan, the two nations cover more than 96% of mutual settlements in rubles and reals. Their statement said bilateral trade volume has grown by 12.4% in the first 8 months of this year alone, Moscow said, adding that in 2023 it amounted to more than 4 billion. Well, 4 billion is, I mean, this is not that much, obviously, but just give it time. Give it time. Relationships between Moscow and Tehran are getting better and better, and two countries, Russia and Iran, are getting closer and closer. And just give it another 5 to 10 years, by the way, and trade between the two nations will reach, I believe, like significantly higher levels, tens of billions of dollars, 30, 40, 50 potentially, because Iran has great potential, isn't it? And Russia obviously also. So therefore, this cooperation to become even more bigger success story. And finally, dear friends, I want to share with you this news that gold yet again reached record prices. Yesterday at 12 o'clock, gold, 1 ounce of gold was trading for more than $2,750. That's the record price, and I believe it's only a matter of time, maybe a year uh, or two, but gold will trade definitely more than 3,000 for ounce. This process is unstoppable, as unstoppable is process of de-dollarization. And when more people will distance themselves from Western currencies that are toxic at this point because of their crazy policies of the Western ruling class, and when uh, investors, including Western investors, by the way, will distance themselves from these bubbles that are created on the stock exchanges in the West. Well, where are they gonna invest? Where are they gonna invest? They will start looking for other countries, obviously, for investments, and also they will start investing even in bigger ways in commodities. And gold, obviously, will be one of the number one choices in that regard. And therefore, uh, I see no reason why this process of increased pricing on the gold will stop anytime soon. And it will definitely reach 3,000. Although, dear friends, obviously, I'm not an expert in the gold market or something. I'm just sharing my opinion on that. And at least for now, my opinion on gold was correct, isn't it? Veterans of our community probably remember even 2 years ago I was saying that investment in gold is uh, is is worth it, you know. And if I had the opportunity to invest, I would. Unfortunately, I could not, and I can't. Otherwise, you know, you can make some decent profits on gold in the long term. Although, of course, it's not just about profits, but it's about savings. You are not losing by investing in gold. Anyways, dear friends, let's end this update on that news. Hopefully, you will find this video informative, interesting, and useful. I hope sound was more or less okay. If not, dear friends, I apologize for that. I'm still working on this technical stuff, and hopefully for tomorrow I will resolve all the issues. And yes, if you like this video, please click that like button, leave some commentary just about anything, any topic will do to try and influence algorithm somehow. And finally, if you like my work, and want to support, you can do it through donations. You can use a Patreon or Boosty for that, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. All the links are on this video in description box and in the pinned comment. And also cryptocurrency, by the way, if you are good in crypto, and you can see my crypto wallet in description box also. So this is it for now. Have a great day and take care.